Hello everyone and welcome to another Throne and Liberty video, of which that many of you have sent me a video by Kanon talking about what Koreans truly think about Throne and Liberty, and thank you guys so much for that suggestion. If you haven't seen his video, I'm going to include a link to that in the description of this video for you. But then I had an excellent question tossed my way. Now, forgive me if I'm butchering anybody's names here. As a dyslexic person, that just comes with the territory, but I try my best. So you can also sound off in the comments with pronunciations, and I'll do my best to try and improve over time. But Mikamu John says, please explain to me why the Koreans that have played the PTR and the Korean MMO players hate Throne and Liberty on the forums. Please shed some light into why they hate their local devs. And so hello everyone, and welcome to the channel. My name is Brian if you happen to be new. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, you dadgum sexy beasts. That's what you get for subscribing, by the way. Free compliments and maybe the title Sexy Beast just for subscribing. But we're going to have some fun in today's video. I'm sure I'm going to unintentionally upset some of you, but that's the nature of being an MMO community discussion channel. It's with the territory because, like it or not, like MMO players, we can be hyper tribal, and I believe that's due to a lot of how this genre itself has evolved, and maybe we'll talk about more of that in a future video if you guys are interested in it. But I want to focus in on my thoughts about Koreans who are stating that they don't like Throne and Liberty, and it really kind of boils down to a few things. I want to talk to you guys today about understanding MMO players. I'm also going to drink my coffee because my voice randomly is failing. I'm going to talk to you guys today about understanding MMOs and the gamers who love them. We're going to talk about it, and we're also going to talk about something that's going to be considered probably slightly controversial, especially within gaming, but I think it's an important analogy that really kind of, at least how for me, it sheds lights on all the comments that I receive. And by the way, guys, I love doing comment videos. Those are the comment section, so we usually kind of build them off of these videos. So bring your best comments, your thoughts on this, so we can do a follow-up video for you guys here in the future. But first and foremost, I don't think this is going to be a surprise to anybody out there who's been on the internet for a long time, but talk is cheap, and negative talk equals way more attention. Now, that's not to say that what they're sharing isn't true. Like, it could be absolutely true. We have no idea about whether this game is going to be good or bad. Unfortunately, any MMO that has any kind of hype behind it takes on like its own energy, its own wave, its own degree of, I don't know, faith that people believe that it's going to be the next big MMO. Overconsume it, especially driven off of the back of content creators, especially the full-timers who stream, play the game for thousands of hours, and then hate on it because it does not have enough content. Meanwhile, like guys like you and me, we go to work, spend time with our family, plug in, 6 to 8 hours a week, which is the standard. I usually think of MMO players as playing about 10 to 12 hours per week on average. That factors in all of us. And, like we're looking at the game like, yeah, there's still plenty of things for me to do. But then the hype train moves on, and then you're left wondering, are you wasting your time, or are they just going to shut down the game? And that seems to be the pattern. It's the death spiral pattern. And the only way to come out of that is continue to release more and more content, continue to fight the good fight. And after several years, maybe then people will be like, yeah, that's definitely got to, I trust the devs. I trust that the changes they're going to make are going to be what are good. But that also all relies on the game being unique, the game feeling or doing something a little bit different, the game having a hook that draws you back in time and time again. So we don't know if Throne of Liberty is going to be that. So I'm not going to sit here and say their experiences, if they are true or wrong, because I have nothing that I can refute that. The only thing I have is a passion for the mystery that is Throne and Liberty, for the question of what is really this game? What is its real combat system? How will it feel to play? Will it feel like they're just going through my pockets, or will it feel like a decent relationship with us as players? These are the questions that are mysteries that I'm looking forward to answering, and will answer for you here on this channel. That's what I kind of do in this regards. But what do I think? Like I said, talk is cheap. Negative talk generates way more attention. This is due to our evolution as human beings, because it is important for us to know the negative things so that it more or less can help us to survive. Also, I would say, if these are negative and let's say they're dishonest or they're not necessarily true, or ultimately you don't align with the reviewer in this case, you don't, because like we're all guilty of that. I used to be somebody who only played +9s on, any game reviewed, but it turns out there's a bunch of really great games that are 7s and 8s that really more or less resonate with me. I like RPGs. If you were going to have me go play a sports game, I'm not going to resonate that well with that sports game, but I'm going to like the RPG way more. And it's, that's where I'm talking about, is that in terms of video game reviews, it's better to find a reviewer who aligns with the things that you enjoy, because you're going to more or less resonate with the positives and the negatives that they have to say. So when it comes down to MMOs, like I said, talk is cheap. Negative attention draws that beautiful, beautiful attention, that sweet, sweet attention that apparently the internet craves. As I've talked about many times, it's a currency that we exchange back and forth on social media. For good or bad, there's positive and negatives, and that's a bigger topic for another day. Now, on that topic itself, though, when it comes down to it, until we all really get a chance to play it, it doesn't really matter whether Throne and Liberty is the greatest game of all time or the worst game of all time, or somewhere in that spectrum between those two extremes. Cool. Like, it's something that I think we're all looking forward to trying. And I think at the end of the day, I don't care if somebody doesn't like the game. I don't care if they think it's the best or it's the worst. I'm very much interested in playing it and going hands-on with it myself, informing my own decision and sharing with you guys the information as best as I can. But it's important that we also talk about understanding us as MMO players. Now, this didn't come from me. This actually comes from Your Drag or Night, who posted this. And I think this is a really interesting way of summarizing us as a community. So, like when using the word community in a loose term, a broader term beyond those of you who've subscribed here to the channel. And they say, I like to divide the MMO community into 3 or sometimes 4 groups. The tourists. These are the ones who aren't going to stick around with the game. Tourists come briefly to see what the game's like, wander lightly, then they are out after a few days or a week. You can also call them the first waves, since MMOs have a big populace boosts from the beginning, a new toy in the market, and once the excitement and the serotonin calms down, the number drops by a certain amount and then it stabilizes. After that, you'll see the rest who are probably going to stay around for much longer. Then you have the salt miners. They are literally never satisfied, yet stick around. These are the ones that just look for attention, confused, or just plain special. They are also most of the time makes no sense. Then you have the passioneers. This is the type that's going to stick around with the game through thick and thin, possibly is quick to grow attached because the game fits a very specific niche, and then they can appreciate or have an insane ability to get enjoyment out of anything as long as they have their imagination and their buds. They can be casual, but always are very chill and relaxed about a given game. They are just going to play it and get the merry enjoyment and what that they can while they can. And then the fourth kind of category, they call it as the grinder. These are the gamers that come with a bunch, whether it's PvE or PvP, they want to conquer all of their hearts have set out for this game as they play it. I think these are really kind of 4 interesting categories. I'd be kind of curious as to ask you, where do you think you fall? If you made it to this point in the video, I really would like to know. Do you consider yourself a tourist, a salt miner, a passioneer, or a grinder in this case? And I think that's important to kind of understand. Like in my case, I feel like I'm a passioneer. I end up, whether it's casually or hardcore, like I'm very passionate about games and trying to understand them completely. I think it's a fun case study. I think it's important to understand what some games do well and what some games don't. And this is where it all comes down to within the genre itself, where I think it's evolved and how our tribalism has ultimately stagnated the genre itself because we're unwilling to support new and interesting ideas, and those ideas come and go, and the data analysis of it is like, that was a bad idea, when it could have been a good idea, but the other supporting systems around it weren't truly fleshed out. I'm hoping that the buy-to-play and Battle Pass model will help bring in both new blood and also bring people back to the genre so we can continue to evolve and reward the good activities. When we think of this as a marketplace of ideas, when we think about how the market can decide Well, the best way that happens is with choice. And so you take your dollars and your time, you put them in different buckets, and then those buckets can then ideally grow. And so ultimately, new ideas, new experiments, new takes on old systems have a possibility of improving upon, and thus maybe the genre will have a new life. I do believe the best days are ahead of us for the genre itself, with emerging technologies and so much more, but that goes well beyond the scope of this video. Now, understanding the concept of faith in this regards, like I brought up earlier, a lot of people put a lot of faith in these games, and I see the cycle repeated over and over again because there are a lot of gamers. You see this happen a lot of times. I've seen people say, I'm never going to do this again, and then new hype comes along, and for some reason or not, they put all their faith in that the game is going to be amazing with very little information off the fact. It can be fun to be a part of the hype. It can be fun to be a part of the conversation, but I do see time and time again a lot of players get burned and scorned, and I think that's an unnecessary step if we just are a little bit more honest with ourselves. I'm somebody who advocates against blind faith. If anybody ever says blind faith is a good thing, like that in and of itself is a dangerous person. Now, I'm speaking as somebody who is a practicing Catholic and spent time in the seminary and wanted to be a priest, but didn't end up becoming a priest and became married and has 6 kids. And that's, a good thing. Like, I look at my life and I'm very happy and with it, but I understand how people can have such a negative view of like these kind of conversations, but these are weird and directly connected analogies that I see play in time and time again. Whether, and for yes, high five. These are things and parallels that I see play out time and time again. And when it comes down to it, like, that's where I think if we kind of take a more scientific approach with these games, and I would say the silent majority does. The majority of you who watch like the videos and enjoy them and things like that, really kind of does probably resonate more with what I'm saying right now. Like, yeah, like I'll wait and see. It's not that big of a deal. But there's those of you out there that I really truly wish I could reach and just encourage you to not necessarily to put all your hope and joy in one's game's release. Because if we just look at the genre, if we look at just the data points, MMOs are consumed voraciously. And I think probably a part of that was there has been kind of a longer gap between MMO games having been launched, but they're overconsumed and then essentially championed for destruction. It's kind of the same way with content creators. We raise a content creator up and then hope to tear them down. Like, it's this cycle of like, we're going to champion you and then we're going to destroy you. And it's this repeated cycle that it would be really, I don't know, maybe the hopeful, the ignorant, hopeful part of my brain, wishes that we could have more of that, I guess, joy and more appreciation for the games as they are, and then champion their evolution, that they can continue to become better, all at the same time, while not necessarily wrapping up our own personal hopes and joys in that. Now, this is a long conversation to say, again, to kind of summarize, that talk is cheap. Whether somebody's played the game, whether they're from Korea or not, it doesn't actually matter. They're just like us. They're gamers, and gamers are going to talk, and gamers are going to, like, the comments and stuff echo what we've seen already over here. NCSoft this, etc. that. You could insert any game anywhere. You're going to find people who are going to champion it blindly. You're going to find people who are going to try to tear it down blindly. All for this weird game of attention. And there's no real fixing that unless we fix the algorithms. And I don't have any control of the algorithms, so I'm just going to sit here and tell you guys how it is and encourage us all to hopefully grow better, communicate better, and be better to one another. Now, that's going to wrap it up. Thanks, guys, so much for your time today. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully I will see you in the next one. But until then, take care.